Today, we're unraveling a shocking incident where a woman was yanked out of her car and detained without assured reason. And if that wasn't enough, the officer's body cam caught him fabricating charges against her. Can you believe it? On the evening of May 30th, 2022, two officers from the Yavapai County Sheriff's Office were cruising the streets. They spotted a car with a malfunctioning headlight. Now, typically, a broken headlight is a green light for officers to pull someone over. This mind-boggling episode was caught on the body cams of both officers. We'll be dissecting footage from both angles to pinpoint exactly where things went south for the unsuspecting driver. Watch closely as the officers near the vehicle. Their intent, not to defuse, but to escalate. "Hey there, can you hear me?" One officer begins. "What's going on? Why the lights?" The driver responds, clearly taken aback. "Just relax. Stop. Let me do the talking." The officer interrupts, his tone dripping with condescension. The driver, trying to keep her cool, responds,
"I own the property, right?"
Do you have a middle name? And what's your date of birth?
Oh my God, he's gonna stand here and give you a goddamn lecture. Do whatever you need to do. You've gotten the information. He's a passenger. This is nuts. You are too young to be doing
Hey,
this.
can you step out of the car,
No, go on with what you need. You have my name, you have my birthday. What other information do you need? You can look up by that address and you can find my name. That's me.
I need you to step out, okay?
No, I don't need to step out.
I'm good. If you're going any further with anything, I'd like to talk to a supervisor. I'm good. I don't want to talk to you anymore.
Right there.
So here's the deal.
As the standoff continues, one can't help but wonder, how did a simple traffic stop escalate to this point? What drives an officer to overstep his bounds so brazenly? And most importantly, how many such incidents go unnoticed, unrecorded? This incident serves as a stark reminder of the power dynamics at play during even the most routine interactions with law enforcement. It's a call to stay informed, to know your rights, and to always question authority when it overreaches. The night's tension only thickened as Officer Gills, having made the initial contact, seemed to bypass the usual protocol. Instead of explaining the reason for the stop, a mere broken headlight, he dove headfirst into extracting personal details.
Yeah, and plus I am asking you to step out of this vehicle. Will you please step out of this vehicle?
And you're being like a child because I won't do what you ask you to do because you're police and you have the authority. You have no reason for any of this. You said you needed to know my information. You were asking me questions about me,
Just
who I am.
step out of the car, stand back here, okay?
Every single question that you asked me. Now, you can go and run that information right there and you'll find out that my record is completely clean. I've never been arrested for anything. I've got no traffic tickets. There's nothing wrong. Just because I have no teeth, it doesn't mean that I'm doing speed or meth or anything like that. Because why are they telling me to step out of the car? This is insane.
They're not going to stop it.
So go and run my name, run my information, and then you can find out who you're dealing with.
Can you stop
and then
can I
we
ask you a
can
question? Can I just ask
go
you a question?
on.
The officer, seemingly grasping for control, responded, "Your behavior is suspicious. You're preventing me from doing my duty. I've answered every question you've thrown at me. Run my information. You'll see I have a clean record. No arrests, no tickets. Just because I challenge you doesn't mean I'm guilty of anything," she declared, her voice firm. In Arizona, officers do have the authority to ask drivers and passengers to exit a vehicle during a traffic stop if they believe it's necessary for safety or to conduct a lawful investigation. However, this power comes with the responsibility of using it judiciously. The officer's actions that night seem to be a far cry from this standard. "Then run my information and let us go," Ms. Bailey responded, her patience wearing thin. As the night wore on, it became evident that this wasn't just a routine traffic stop. The atmosphere grew even more charged as Ms. Bailey, clearly exasperated, pointed to her nearby home. "My house is right there. Where am I going to go? What am I going to do?" she exclaimed, her voice echoing the disbelief of the situation. The officers, however, seemed to be on a different wavelength, insinuating that she might be under the influence.
First and foremost, Now I'm going to start believing you are under the influence of something because you guys are talking about that. I never said anything about any drugs or anything like that.
Right.
That's one. Two, if you want a supervisor down here, it's going to be an hour plus for them to get down here.
We've got kids in that house.
Okay.
I know, they don't give a f. They're on their little game, their little power trip, okay?
Ms. Bailey, perhaps sensing the futility of resistance, finally stepped out of the vehicle. But the officers weren't done. They quickly turned their attention to her husband, barking orders at him to stay put. As Ms. Bailey was ordered to face the vehicle for a pat-down, the absurdity of the situation became even more apparent. Here was a woman, pulled over for a broken headlight, now being treated like a serious criminal. And for what? A perceived attitude. The officers' actions were becoming increasingly difficult to justify. Not once had they provided a clear reason for their aggressive approach. In a telling moment, one officer admitted, "I'm treating you this way because of the way you've been acting." Ms. Bailey, her voice dripping with incredulity, responded, "For a burnt-out taillight, for being upset, for wanting to take care of my kids." The situation reached a new low when one officer, identifying himself as Deputy Ratford, tried to justify their actions. "I'm handling this a lot calmer than most," he claimed, a statement that left Ms. Bailey in disbelief. "If this is calm, you shouldn't be an officer," she retorted. The officer's actions also appeared to violate Section 13 to 5315 of the Arizona Administrative Code, which mandates respect, fairness, and integrity in all interactions with the public. As the night wore on, the officers continued their attempts to assert control, even as Ms. Bailey and her husband tried to cooperate. "Watch her," one officer instructed another, as if Ms. Bailey was a significant threat. "What are you doing? You ran my information." "Everything is fine," she pleaded, desperate for the ordeal to end. The story serves as a stark reminder of the power dynamics that can play out during seemingly routine interactions. The night's events took an even more perplexing turn. Ms. Bailey, trying to make sense of the situation, posed a simple question. "So, if my information comes back clean, I can go home, right?" The officers, however, seemed to be playing a waiting game, evading her questions with vague responses. "We're just waiting right now," one officer remarked, offering no clarity on what they were waiting for.
I really hope not. Like, so what you're telling me is if we run the record and the record's clean, then I get to go home. Is that true?
We're gonna figure that out in a second, okay?
Figure that out in a second. You can't give me an answer to that? Oh, Joe, this is going to be long.
Just calm down, just sit there.
Oh, okay, this is crazy. I've got so much work going on. Oh my God.
In Arizona, the law is clear. The Fourth Amendment protects individuals from unreasonable searches and seizures. While traffic stops are a necessary part of law enforcement, they must be conducted reasonably and without prejudice. The officers' actions that night seemed to be pushing the boundaries of what is considered reasonable. Ms. Bailey, trying to get a clear answer, posed a hypothetical. The crux of the issue became evident when Ms. Bailey remarked, "You're thinking about whether to punish me because I'm not happy with you." The officer's reply was telling. "I just asked for your name, and you became angry about it." As the night wore on, the standoff between Ms. Bailey and the officers continued. The officers seemingly intent on asserting their authority, and Ms. Bailey determined to stand up for her rights. For over an hour, Ms. Bailey was subjected to a series of field sobriety tests by the roadside. The officers seemed determined to find any sign of impairment, no matter how minor. But Ms. Bailey, confident in her sobriety, they decided to take Ms. Bailey to the station for a drug recognition evaluation, DRE, a 12-step process designed to evaluate suspected cases of driving under the influence. The primary goal of the DRE is to determine if a suspect is impaired, and if so, whether it's due to substance use or a medical condition. At the station, Ms. Bailey underwent a series of tests, from eye examinations to blood pressure measurements. Throughout the process, she remained cooperative, even as the officers continued to question her about her substance use. "When was the last time you smoked marijuana?" one officer inquired. "This afternoon," Ms. Bailey replied, adding that she didn't consider marijuana a medication or drug. In the quiet streets of Yavapai County, a battle of wills had played out, leaving a trail of questions in its wake. What drives an officer to overstep their bounds so brazenly? And how many such incidents go unnoticed, unrecorded? After the examiner had a word with the officers, she ultimately decided to sign Ms. Bailey for driving while intoxicated. This decision was made even though Ms. Bailey had passed every test. It was a clear indication of the officers' unwillingness to admit their mistakes and the lengths they were willing to go to justify their actions. But Ms. Bailey wasn't about to let this slide. She was released soon after, but the impact of that night's events lingered. The experience had left her shaken, but it also ignited a fire within her. In the quiet streets of Yavapai County, a simple traffic stop had turned into a complex legal battle, shining a light on the broader issues of police overreach and accountability. While the outcome of Ms. Bailey's lawsuit remains to be seen, one thing is clear. Her story has resonated with many, serving as a rallying cry for change and a call to action for all those who believe in justice and fairness.